It all started with a message, a simple notification that popped up on my phone one chilly November evening. Little did I know, that message would change my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. A friend from college back in the States messaged me on Facebook. We hadn't spoken in years, but he reached out to tell me about someone he thought I should meet. He was living in the Philippines now, and he said I should look up his friend Anne. He described her as someone special, someone who could light up a room with her presence. Said she was cool, down to earth, loved to laugh. He painted a picture of a woman who was genuine and full of life, someone who could make even the darkest days seem brighter. I was skeptical, of course. Meeting someone online, especially through a friend's recommendation, seemed a bit far-fetched. But curiosity got the better of me. So, I checked out her profile. Her photos, her posts, everything seemed to radiate positivity and warmth. It was hard not to be intrigued. She had this bright smile, these sparkling eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories. There was something about her that drew me in, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. We started chatting online, slowly at first. Our conversations were light, filled with the usual getting-to-know-you questions. But there was an ease to our interactions, a natural flow that made it feel like we had known each other for years. Emails turned into instant messages. Our chats became more frequent, more personal. We shared our daily lives, our thoughts, our dreams. Instant messages turned into late-night calls. We would talk for hours, losing track of time as we delved into deeper conversations. It was during these late-night calls that I felt a real connection forming. We talked about everything and nothing. Food, travel, dreams, fears. She shared her love for cooking, her favorite recipes, and I told her about my passion for exploring new places and cultures. She told me about life in her small town, the simplicity, the close-knit community, the beauty of the everyday moments. It was a world so different from mine, yet so fascinating. I told her about my crazy adventures around the world, the places I had been, the people I had met, the experiences that had shaped me. She listened with genuine interest, always eager to hear more. There was a connection, a spark. It felt different. Weeks turned into months. Our bond grew stronger with each passing day. It was as if we were building something real, something lasting. Our online conversations grew longer, more intense. We discussed our hopes for the future, our fears, our pasts. We opened up to each other in ways we hadn't with anyone else. I found myself thinking about her constantly, her laugh, her stories, her warmth. She had become a part of my daily life, even though we were miles apart. Her laugh, her stories, her warmth, they were like a beacon of light in my life, guiding me through the mundane and the extraordinary. I knew I had to meet this woman in person. The connection we felt online was undeniable, but I needed to see if it was real, if it could survive the transition to the real world. I had to see if the connection we felt online translated to the real world. It was a risk, a leap of faith, but one I was willing to take. So I booked a flight. One way to Manila. It was a decision that felt both exhilarating and terrifying, but deep down, I knew it was the right one. A leap of faith, a journey into the unknown. As I walked through the airport terminal, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was it, the beginning of a new chapter, a new adventure. The flight was long, the longest I'd ever taken. I had never imagined spending so many hours in the air, suspended between time zones and continents. 14 hours to Seoul, then another 4 to Manila. Each hour felt like an eternity, yet it brought me closer to a dream I had nurtured for months. My stomach was doing flips, part excitement, part nerves. I couldn't help but wonder about the journey ahead, the unknowns that awaited me. I was finally going to meet Anne. But what if it wasn't like we hoped? What if the connection we felt online didn't translate to real life? What if the spark was just a digital illusion? We had spent countless hours on video calls, sharing our lives, our dreams, our fears. Landing in Manila was a sensory overload, the heat, the humidity, the noise. It was also different from the quiet, predictable life I had back home. It was a million miles away from my life back home. The streets were alive with energy, a chaotic symphony of sights and sounds. But I felt strangely alive, energized by the chaos. The vibrant colors, the bustling markets, the friendly faces. It was all so exhilarating. This was it. This was my adventure. I had stepped out of my comfort zone and into a world that was both thrilling and intimidating. The taxi ride to Anne's town was an experience in itself. The driver navigated through the maze of streets with a skill that seemed almost magical. Scooters zipped through traffic, horns blared, street vendors hawked their wares. It was a sensory feast, a whirlwind of activity that left me breathless. The air was thick with the smell of diesel and something sweet and unfamiliar. It was a mix of exhaust fumes and the tantalizing aroma of street food. I rolled down the window, breathed it all in. The sights, the sounds, the smells. It was all so new, so different, so alive. This was the Philippines. This was her world. And for the first time, I felt like I was truly living, experiencing life in its raw, unfiltered form. Anne met me at the bus station. It was a bustling hub of activity with people coming and going, the air filled with the sounds of chatter and the rumble of buses. I spotted her almost immediately, standing there with a warm smile that seemed to light up the entire station. Even more beautiful in person, her photos didn't do her justice. There was a certain radiance about her, a glow that was both inviting and comforting. We hugged, a little awkwardly at first. It was that initial moment of physical connection, where you're not quite sure how to navigate the space between familiarity and newness. But her smile put me at ease. It was genuine, filled with warmth and kindness, and it melted away any lingering awkwardness. We walked to her favorite street food stall. The streets were alive with the vibrant energy of vendors calling out their wares, the sizzle of food cooking, and the mingling aromas of spices and grilled meats. Pork skewers sizzling over charcoal, the smoky aroma filling the air. It was intoxicating, a promise of flavors to come. She handed me a skewer, her eyes twinkling with excitement. There was a sense of pride in her gesture, as if she was sharing a piece of her world with me. "Try it," she said, her voice filled with enthusiasm. "It's the best in town." Her confidence was infectious, and I couldn't wait to take that first bite. I took a bite. The flavors exploded in my mouth. It was a symphony of tastes, savory, smoky, with a hint of sweetness that balanced everything perfectly. Savory, smoky, a hint of sweetness. Each bite was a revelation, a new layer of flavor that kept me wanting more. It was unlike anything I'd ever tasted. The complexity of the flavors was astounding, and I found myself savoring each mouthful. "Wow," I said, my mouth full. "This is amazing." I couldn't help but express my delight, and she laughed, clearly pleased with my reaction. We ate, laughing and talking. The food was incredible, but it was the shared experience that made it truly special. She told me about each dish, the ingredients, the history. I listened, captivated. Her passion for her culture was evident in every word, and it made the food taste even better. It wasn't just the food that was incredible. It was the connection we were building, the way we were sharing a part of her world. It was sharing it with her, experiencing her culture through her eyes. Each bite was a story, each dish a piece of her heritage. Over the next few days, she took me everywhere. We explored the city, visiting various food spots that she loved. We ate our way through markets, sampled exotic fruits, drank strong local coffee. Each experience was a new adventure, a deeper dive into the rich tapestry of Filipino cuisine. I tried everything, no hesitation. From the familiar to the exotic, I wanted to taste it all. I wanted to experience it all. Fully immersing myself in this new culture, I felt a sense of excitement and discovery that was truly exhilarating. Meeting Anne's family was like stepping into another world. They welcomed me with open arms, even though I barely spoke a word of Tagalog. Her parents were kind, her siblings were hilarious. They insisted I try everything, piling my plate high with food. We ate, we laughed, we communicated through gestures and broken phrases. But even with the language barrier, I felt a sense of connection, a warmth, a generosity that transcended words. Her family embraced me, the stranger from a distant land. They shared their home, their food, their stories. I felt humbled, grateful. I was starting to understand the true meaning of hospitality. And then, the world changed. The news started trickling in slowly at first. A virus spreading rapidly, borders closing, flights canceled. We watched the news in disbelief, fear creeping in. The Philippines went into lockdown, travel restrictions tightened. My flight back to the States was canceled. I was stuck in paradise, some might say. But the uncertainty was unsettling. I was worried about my family back home, worried about Anne, worried about the future. We made the best of it. We cooked together, played games, talked for hours. The lockdown, as terrifying as it was, brought us closer. We relied on each other, supported each other. Our bond grew stronger with each passing day. Section 6. A Year of Waiting. Love in the Time of COVID. The lockdown dragged on for months. We settled into a routine, a strange kind of normalcy in the midst of global chaos. We spent our days cooking, gardening, exploring the nearby beaches. We learned about each other's dreams, fears, and hopes. We fell deeper in love. Finally, after a year of waiting, the travel restrictions eased. I had to return to the States, but we knew this wasn't the end. We had something special, something worth fighting for. We spent the next year apart, connecting through video calls and messages. The distance was hard, but our love only grew stronger. We were determined to be together, no matter the obstacles. Section 7 Coming to Sweden. A new chapter begins. Anne arrived in Sweden in the spring. It was a new beginning, a fresh start. Seeing her at the airport after all that time was an emotional roller coaster. Relief, joy, overwhelming love. We explored my hometown together, her eyes wide with wonder. She embraced the Swedish culture, the food, the language. She was adaptable, resilient, always up for an adventure. Life wasn't always easy, adjusting to a new country, a new language, a new way of life. But we faced each challenge together, as a team. Section 8. A Swedish wedding celebrating love and commitment. We got married the following summer. A small ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. It was perfect. Standing there with Anne by my side, I couldn't believe how lucky I was. We had found each other across continents through a pandemic against all odds. Our love story was proof that anything is possible. Section 9. Looking back, looking forward. Looking back, I'm amazed at how much our lives have changed. Meeting Anne was a turning point, a catalyst for adventure and growth. She opened my eyes to a new culture, a new way of seeing the world. She taught me the true meaning of love, patience, and resilience. Now, as we build our life together, I'm filled with gratitude. Gratitude for our love, our journey, and the unknown adventures that lie ahead.